This is Y News with Angelo Castro III and Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. The PNP Criminal Investigation and Detection Group has released the 3 suspected Maute relatives who were arrested yesterday at Ninoy Aquino International Airport. Monocson will tell us why.
Police Senior Superintendent Wilson Asueta of the National Capital Region PNP CIDG said they see no reason to prolong their custody of the suspected Mautikin. Those who were released today were identified as Ashari Maute, Yasser Maute, and Al-Nazir Maute. They were among the passengers who were held at Ninoy Aquino International Airport yesterday for being included in the alert order of the Department of National Defense and subjects for PNP's arrest warrant. Meanwhile, 3 were also released because their names were not included in the list of targets. CIDG also added that the NBI also released Abdul Rahman Maute. The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, has thanked the immigration personnel for their immediate action. AFP spokesperson Brigadier General Restituto Padilla says it only proves the tight security the government is implementing, as well as the proper coordination among government agencies.
So yan po ay isang magandang senyales na ang Bureau of Immigration and Deportation ay nagsasagawa ng kanilang tungkulin upang bantayan ang ating mga pasukan at labasan tulad ng mga paliparan at mga port areas kung saan may maaring pumasok at lumabas ng mga kababayan natin o sino mang dayuhan na bibisita o aalis o lilisan ng ating bansa.
Meanwhile, other persons with Maute surnames are appealing not to implicate them in the activities of the terrorists.
Hindi lahat ng Maute may kasalanan dito sa nangyayari. Pati po kami nadadamay, hindi po kami makapag-ano dito sa Pilipinas dahil damay-damay po.
CIDG NCR clarifies that despite their release, they are still under the surveillance of the PNP. Monhokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
Presidential Peace Advisor Secretary Jesus Doresa recommends to President Rodrigo Duterte the immediate endorsement of the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law to Congress. Rosa tells us why.
The Bangsamoro Transition Commission is scheduled to formally submit to President Rodrigo Duterte the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law or BBL on July 17 in Malacanang. The BBL will be the basis for the Bangsamoro entity to be established and to replace the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao. It will also set the division of the minerals, power between the government and the Bangsamoro, and finish the decades-long violence in Mindanao. For Presidential Peace Advisor Secretary Jesus Doresa, he recommends that President Duterte endorse the BBL immediately to the Congress without undergoing review by the Office of the President.
Unlike yung ginawa sa previous administration na yung proposed BBL, tiningker muna, inayos-ayos muna ng palasyo bago pinadala sa Kongreso. Our recommendation is that as soon as the President receives it, he will turn it over to the Speaker of the House and both the Senate President.
However, the President has the final say on whether to review first the draft before endorsing it to Congress. But Secretary Doresa says the Congress is mandated to review it and deliberate on the proposed bill.
Pero ang Kongreso assembled, House of Representatives muna, or both at the same time, and then papasa sa kabila. Hindi yung trabaho ng Executive Department. The President's decision will come only when both would pass a bill into law, and he will be asked either to approve it or veto it.
Meanwhile, the convergence of the Moro National Liberation Front and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front about the issue of establishment of the Bangsamoro entity will be discussed in the Congress through the proposed bill. Rosa, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
The first activated reservists from Lanao del Norte are now ready for deployment to Marawi City. Ray Pelayo tells us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte approved last May 29 the activation of reservists in Lanao del Norte.
Ito yung kauna-unahang
inactivate sa time ng ating presidente na si President Rodrigo Duterte, na inactivate na ang pinakauna nga dito sa Lanao del Norte. Wala pang ibang probinsya at saka sa other region.
The 398 reservists are from various government agencies and private sector in Lanao del Norte, including Iligan City. They are prepared to help the Philippine National Police or PNP and Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP, particularly in providing assistance at evacuation centers and at checkpoints, among others.
Some of the mission nga mas imahatag sa amo is the CMO, civil military operations, nga we could be of help explaining to the public this is not a religious war.
The reservists continue to undergo training and refreshers prior to their deployment.
As of this time, we are still waiting for the operational guidelines from Headquarters Philippine Army para ma-attach kami doon sa task unit.
There is a possibility that some of them will provide huge help, especially the skilled workers in the rehabilitation of Marawi City. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The military has expressed support on whatever decision Congress will make regarding military rule in the region. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
Since President Rodrigo Duterte declared martial law in Mindanao, the military's 10th Infantry Division and Task Force Haribon have already conducted 3,320 checkpoint inspections and 1,922 patrols in the region. The military stationed in Mindanao say they are supporting whatever the decision of the Congress will be on the extension of martial law.
We need everybody's collaboration, and we believe that we can all do this together as one against terrorism.
But some Mindanaoans say they want the martial law in the region to extend as it helps in suppressing terrorist threats in the area.
Wala nang gulo. Yung mga tao na mahilig sa gulo, takot na eh.
Extend po para mas safe po ang paligid.
Mas mayo ipadayon ngano makita nimo ang kaning epekto sa makontrol gani ang katawhan kung maghimo og daotan.
The Congress has no decision yet on whether or not to extend martial law in the region. Meanwhile, AFP spokesperson Brigadier General Restituto Padilla says they still have 10 days before the end of the declaration on July 22 to form their recommendation and submit to the President. Padilla says their recommendations will be based on the assessment of their men on the ground.
The declaration of martial law and its possible extension is dependent on the assessment that will be done by the armed forces. The assessment is not yet done, so I cannot answer that as of yet. Hintayin natin matapos yung assessment kasi yun ang magiging basihan.
The AFP also belies reports that the government plans to declare martial law in the entire country. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The government peace negotiators will again conduct back-channel talks with communist rebels before the formal resumption of peace talks in August. Rosa will tell us why.
The Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process is mandated to push for the continuance of the formal peace talks with the leftist groups amid the challenges and problems the country is facing. Despite the cancellation of the fifth round of peace talks, Presidential Peace Advisor Secretary Jesus Dureza says government peace negotiators will hold back-channel talks with the National Democratic Front of the Philippines or NDFP.
Efforts are ongoing on a back channel in order to possibly come up with that enabling environment that would make it for us in the Philippine side ready to meet again on the fifth round of talks.
However, there's no definite date and venue yet for the planned back-channel talks as of today. Nonetheless, one of the proposed topics of discussion in the said back-channel talks will be the demand of President Rodrigo Duterte to stop the New People's Army from doing extortion activities.
These are matters that we'll take up with them, hopefully in the back channel that may happen very soon.
The government canceled the fifth round of peace talks after the Communist Party of the Philippines ordered NPA to intensify its attacks against government forces. This amid the declaration of martial law in Mindanao due to the rise of terrorism and rebellion caused by the ISIS-inspired local terrorist groups. Rosa, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Alongside the preparations of Congress for the upcoming second State of the Nation address of President Rodrigo Duterte, youth groups are planning to hold what they dub as a nationwide youth sauna before July 24. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
Youth groups are set to conduct their own State of the Nation address ahead of President Duterte's sauna on July 18 to impart to the public what they claim as violations of the current administration. It will begin from 7:30 in the morning to 12 in the afternoon on Tuesday at the St. Scholastica College in Manila. A youth sauna will also be held in Cebu and General Santos City.
Ang gagawin po namin sa sauna namin ay ipapakita po namin ano yung mga atrocities ng gobyernong ito. Maliban po doon, lalabas din po kami. Lalabas po kami sa Leon Ginto at doon po ay magkakaroon kami ng cultural picket. The president will definitely highlight the best parts of the milestones of this administration's first year. Pero naniniwala po kami na marami pa pong mga detalye ang hindi sasabihin doon sa SONA. Katulad na lang ng human rights, katulad na lang ng extrajudicial killings, katulad na lang ng validity ng pagdedeklara ng martial law sa Mindanao.
Youth groups are opposing the alleged extrajudicial killings happening in the country. They say they are worried over the 13,000 cases of killings because of the all-out war against illegal drugs in just 1 year of the Duterte administration. Meanwhile, the millennials also created a movement called #YouthResist. It is being led by the groups like MAD, Student Council of the Philippines, Akbayan Youth, and several other campus groups and community-based youth groups. One of those who joined the #YouthResist movement and organizers of the Youth Sauna is grade 9 student Shibi. Shibi says as a millennial, the youth should also learn how to fight fake news and online trolls on social media.
When there is an aggressive approach, it's better to just not respond because especially online, because most of the time it's impossible to argue with someone online, especially if that account might be fake. They might just be trolls.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, imposes a 5 billion peso fine each on transport network companies Grab and Uber. Joanano explains why.
The management of Uber and Grab admitted to officials of the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, that they continue to accept new applications of transport network vehicle. This despite the order of the LTFRB last July 2016 on the temporary suspension in accepting applications of transport network companies. In a hearing earlier on the renewal of accreditation of TNCs, Grab admits it still accepts new TNVS due to increasing demand of passengers. The same has been the argument of the management of Uber. This is the reason for the continued increase in their members amid the existing suspension order. This prompted the LTFRB to impose a fine of 5 million pesos each on Grab and Uber due to their violations.
The cancellation of accreditation of the TNCs will no longer cancel the same, nor will it suspend the accreditation, but will impose a fine insofar as the violation of the terms and conditions of the pass.
LTFRB explains they understand the needs of passengers for a proper public transportation as well as the demand for a decent livelihood of drivers and operators. The agency notes cancellation of accreditation should be the penalties for the violations committed by Grab and Uber. The LTFRB board decided to just impose monetary fines and still allow them to operate. But the agency clarifies that TNVS with certification are allowed to operate.
Ang merong PA or ang merong CPC, yun ang pwedeng magbiyahe. Kasi otherwise, you are continuously violating this one. It doesn't mean that the payment of the fine gives you authority to violate again. It's not. The fine is a sanction.
In a statement, Grab's country head says their members are now only 28,000, while Uber has only 10,000 members. In line with this, LTFRB will form a technical working group that would review the system of Uber and Grab. It would also study the documents the companies will submit regarding the renewal of their accreditation. Grab is open to the decision of the LTFRB and is confident that its operation will continue. The management of Uber, meanwhile, has yet to comment on the matter.
There was negligence, I guess, is the right word on our part, non-compliance. But all was done in the spirit of competition and all was done in the spirit of earnings for our Grab partners. So we're actually quite happy with the decision. It's not a cancellation, it's not a suspension.
Joan Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The maintenance provider of MRT3 vows to do all it can to immediately finish the overhauling of 42 train coaches of MRT Line 3 on or before 2019. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
The Busan Universal Rail Incorporated or BURI answered allegations that it failed to follow the conditions set in its contract as the maintenance of the MRT3. The company says the government can't just cut its contract due to the existing procurement law.
Determination of issues that is included in the contract. Sabi sa procurement law, yun ang mauuna. Tapos sabi sa procurement law, after that, nire-recognize ng procurement law that there is an arbitration process.
It also says that it cannot carry all the blame for the glitches in the operations of MRT. BURI argues that the mass transit system has already been experiencing glitches long before it became its maintenance provider. The firm says since 2007, under its then maintenance provider Sumitomo, the MRT3 had already recorded 532 incidents of unloading passengers due to the problems in the train. In fact, BURI notes glitches in the train operations have lessened by 17% since BURI handled its maintenance works. Meanwhile, BURI vows to do all it can to finish the overhaul of 42 MRT train coaches until its contract ends in 2019.
Lately, na-accept na. Okay, at least yung dalawa. No? And then yung plan namin, we are in discussion with the government regarding the plan to complete the overhaul of the 43 LRVs. In fact, continuous yung overhaul ng LRVs ngayon.
The Department of Transportation is complaining of what it claims as BURI's slow overhaul of trains, which the DOTR says could help resolve the usually long lines at all MRT stations in EDSA. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Makati City.
Next on Y News. The Supreme Court terminates preliminary conference on former Senator Bongbong Marcos' election protest.
PopCom calls on Filipino couples to limit the number of their children as the country's population is estimated to reach 104 million by the end of 2017.
Y News will be right back. Ormoc City in Leyte is now declared under a state of calamity. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
The local government of Ormoc City may now use its emergency fund for its earthquake-affected residents following the declaration of a state of calamity in the area today. Ormoc City Mayor Richard Gomez says 20% of the city's calamity fund will be used for the purchase of food, water, and materials for the construction of shelters of residents whose houses have been badly damaged by the earthquake. The declaration of a state of calamity would also pave way for price freeze to prevent businessmen from raising the prices of their basic commodities. Meanwhile, the Department of Education or DepEd is in need of 70 million pesos for the rehabilitation of damaged classrooms in Ormoc City. DepEd says there are 14 totally damaged classrooms, 59 with major damages, while 47 others with minor damages. Public school teachers are now holding office outside of campus buildings as these already have cracks and also due to aftershocks. The Dolores National High School sustained the most damage as 10 of its classrooms are totally damaged. It is currently cordoned off. Teachers of Bagong Elementary School have no idea yet when to resume classes as 6 of its classrooms can no longer be used, while others have big cracks.
Sana po, President Duterte, kung makakarating po sa inyo, sana po mabigyan nyo agad ng lunas na kahit lang po, makeshift lang sana para lang po maibalik yung klase ng mga bata para naman po medyo hindi po sila mabibehind po sa kanilang mga pag-aaral.
DepEd will set temporary learning spaces, especially in schools, with totally damaged classrooms so that classes will continue. Meanwhile, DepEd vows to immediately conduct stress debriefing to the students who panicked and are traumatized by the strong 5.4 in magnitude aftershock.
Actually, ang ating mga nurses, together with the NGOs, mga non-government organization, particularly Save the Children, we have the Extra Aid, we have the LGU also, and of course the DOH, and with the DepEd nurses, we already instructed them to conduct the stress debriefing, particularly po doon sa pinaka-affected area sa District 4.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Damage assessment continues in earthquake-hit Leyte province, wherein the amount of damage is believed to increase further. Leah Ilagan explains why.
NDRRMC spokesperson Romina Marasigan says the earthquake's damages to infrastructure like roads, bridges, and hospital have now reached to 61.6 million pesos. More injuries were also reported following the 5.8 magnitude aftershock that was felt yesterday in Ormoc. The number of injuries is now at 332 from 329 after students who were at the house of a barangay captain panic.
Doon sa area na iyon, meron isang bahay na isang barangay captain. Nakapagtala tayo ng 92 students. Marami sa ang mga mag-aaral talaga nagpanik, natakot, may mga hinimatay pa nga eh. Pero ang naitala natin doon, may 3 na estudyante nagkaroon ng minor injuries dahil doon sa nagkagulo kasi sila, nagtakbuhan.
The earthquakes affect 1,173 families or 6,020 individuals in 15 villages in Leyte. Of the said number, 90 families or 347 individuals are at an evacuation center in Cananga and are under government support.
Huling naitala natin, ang tulong mula sa Social Welfare and Development is more than 3.2 million. Doon naman sa Department of Health, higit sa 1.3 million na mga gamot, supplies para doon sa ating mga evacuees na nananatili sa evacuation centers at pati na rin doon sa mga pamilya na lumikas at nagpunta sa kanilang mga kamag-anak.
PHIVOLCS recorded 796 aftershocks since this morning. The NDRRMC reminds the public to take extra precaution.
Kaya napakahalaga po, muli tayong isaalang-alang ang ating kaligtasan. Manatiling kalmado pero alerto dahil sa ganitong panahon kailangan po natin magkaroon ng iba yung paghahanda para sa ating kaligtasan at kaligtasan ng ating mga pamilya.
Marasigan also adds there remain no electricity in the earthquakes affected areas. Leah Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Aguinaldo.
The Supreme Court has terminated the preliminary conference on the election protest filed by losing Vice Presidential candidate Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. Roderick Mendoza tells us why.
Nothing much has been resolved during today's preliminary conference on the election protest of losing Vice Presidential bet Bongbong Marcos. Instead, the Supreme Court, sitting as Presidential Electoral Tribunal, directed Marcos and Vice President Leni Robredo to file comments on the motions and issues raised by the opposing parties. Among the issues raised by Robredo is that the court must first rule on the integrity of the automated election system, which according to Marcos has been compromised. Robredo's lawyer claims if the result for the vice presidential elections was compromised, then the result of the whole 2016 elections would be in jeopardy. Marcos's lawyer thinks otherwise. He illustrated that the review of a ballot only affects the protester and not the other candidates.
Pag yan ay hindi binilang, babaliwalay -1 ballot. But that only affects doon sa nagpo-protesta o doon sa nag-object. That does not affect the entire. Ganon din yung sa amin sinasabi. Hindi kayo nagprotesta, that should not affect.
Meanwhile, Marcos has completed the payment of the 66 million peso cash deposit for the retrieval of election paraphernalia and ballots. He paid 30 million pesos in in cash yesterday. Robredo, on the other hand, has asked the court to be given additional time to pay the 7 million peso balance for her counter-protest. Nonetheless, Robredo is confident they can prove Marcos has not been robbed of any votes, especially in her province.
Alam naman natin isa sa mga question na probinsya Camarines Sur. Alam natin lahat na taga dito, no? Walang ganun na nangyari dito. Basta hawak natin yung katotohanan, hindi naman tayo kailangan matakot.
The tribunal considers the protest the first of its kind to reach them. They are expected to issue a resolution by the end of July. The retrieval of ballots from the pilot provinces is expected to be completed by last week of October. But for now, only one thing is sure. Marcos's protest will proceed. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The Commission on Population estimates that the country's population is increasing by around 2 million every year. For this reason, PopCom has been constant in its information drive to educate the public, especially couples, to limit the number of their children. Ray Pelayo explains why.
Coinciding with the observance of World Population Day, the Commission on Population together with the United Nations Population Fund continue to campaign for family planning. According to PopCom, the Philippines population is likely to reach 104 million by the end of 2017. The agency sees the need for birth control, especially that 1 in every 10 women is now becoming a mother or having her first baby at the age of 15 to 19 years old. Mary Joyce decided to practice family planning after she gave birth to her 2 children. She gave birth to her first child when she was just 19.
Pag nagpupuntis ka ng sa sunod-sunod katulad namin, marami kami. Yun yung iniwasan ko, syempre.
Though PopCom is campaigning for the modern family planning method, minors cannot have access to it unless they get their parents' consent. That's why PopCom is encouraging them to practice the natural method instead.
Primary intervention natin pa rin is prevention eh. Yung pa rin na abstinence, kung maaari pa rin yung pwede nating isulong base na rin sa ating kultura.
PopCom cites that non-poor Filipinos have an average of 2 children while poor families commonly have 5. The agency is now focusing its program on how to inform families to limit their number of children. Bashir also wants to practice family planning because he already has 6 children and he is just earning 300 pesos a day through vending.
Mahirap ng buhay ngayon eh.
Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The hearing of the House Committee on Ways and Means tackled today the non-implementation of tax stamps on alcoholic beverages. Joyce Balancho will tell us why.
5 years since sin tax reform was passed into law, the Bureau of Internal Revenue or BIR is still not placing tax stamps on bottles of alcoholic beverages as proof of tax compliance. During the hearing of the House Committee on Ways and Means, ACT Teachers Party List Representative Antonio Tino slammed the BIR for not implementing this part of sin tax law, which ensures that proper taxes are paid by alcohol manufacturers.
So anong patunay na nakapagbayad? Tiwala lang, good faith. Kasi habang hindi pinatutupad ito, ano malay natin kung talagang nakokolekta ba yung dapat nakolektahin ng BIR.
BIR said even without tax stamps, they managed to collect taxes from alcoholic beverages even before these products are sold in the market. They said that they have revenue officers whose task is to monitor the inventory of manufactured products to be taxed.
Yung alcohol po, we are collecting taxes on alcohol production. When the product gets out of their manufacturing plant, we already have an inventory of the taxes to be paid.
BIR guaranteed the House Committee that they will submit a plan on how they will implement before this year ends the tax stamps on alcoholic beverages. Meanwhile, the issue of proliferation of fake stamps on tobacco products was also discussed during the hearing. Congressman Prospero Pichay suggested the use of laser stamps, which he said are harder to counterfeit. Department of Finance Secretary Sonny Dominguez III, on the other hand, said they are now taking actions against fake stamps.
Among these measures
are plans to change the stamp design and install closed-circuit television or CCTV monitoring systems by cigarette manufacturers inside the factories and warehouses so that BIR personnel can monitor their operations.
Joyce Balancio, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
It was a close fight and the AFP Cavaliers emerged as victors in last night's UNTV Cup off-season finals. Bernard Dadis will tell us why.
Bogan still, the shot will work!
UNTV Cup spectators witnessed yet another thrilling championship battle between the AFP Cavaliers and the PNP responders on the UNTV Cup Executive Faceoff at the Smart Araneta Coliseum on Monday night. The game went into overtime, which was won by the AFP Cavaliers 75-70.
Unang-una, napakaganda ng laro, napakadikit ng labanan. Ayaw magbigaya na magkabilang panig. At pati kami nga, nawala na ng boses sa kaka-cheer, no? At yung ganyang klaseng laro, ang tawag cardiac game. Kaya na-exercise na yung puso namin, naubos pa yung boses namin.
During the first quarter of the ball game, the PNP led with 22-10 on the scoreboard. The lead even rocketed to 17 in the second quarter. But the AFP did not lose confidence and bounced back to cut the lead down to 6 as the first half concluded 36-30. The Soldiers' play was so intense that they were able to collapse the PNP's defense in the third quarter. The Cavaliers applied pressure defense versus the PNP that resulted in a series of turnovers on the PNP side. The AFP chopped the lead to just 1, 46-45.
Di ba lumamang na sila about 16 points yata, 17 points. Medyo na-demoralize. Sabi ko lang sa kanila, Sir, mga sir, matagal pa yan, bilog ang bola. Unti-untiin lang natin, mag-start yan sa depensa. Sabi ko, kung ano yung ginagawa natin, gawin natin dito, sir. Kung ano yung ginagawa nila sa atin, gawin din natin sa kanila. Ngayon, hanggang nag-step up naman yung offense, sabi ko, huwag tayo maging sa offense masyadong tira tayo ng tira. Dadating yan, unahin muna natin depensa.
And as the last quarter of the game kicked off, the AFP was able to lead by 1 point. But the PNP did not give in. The game became even more intense, which was like a tug-of-war of scores. There are 6 deadlocks in the quarter until the last buzzer went off, 64 all on the scoreboard. PNP's Police Superintendent Dexter Vitug was a big loss as he got fouled out in the last 5 minutes and 10 seconds in the quarter 4. Police Superintendent Peter Limbawan also needed to exit the game due to an injury. The game ended with a 5-point lead in favor of the AFP Cavaliers. Colonel Egbert Jonathan Abutin was hailed as the most valuable player for making a total of 14 points despite the muscle cramps he sustained.
Hindi lang naman para sa AFP to, so kundi para dun sa pamilya ng mga naulila, ng mga sundalong na tumutulong sa Marawi. Kaya talagang hindi namin maramdaman din yung pagod. Although doon sa mga crunch time medyo bumibigay, pero kailangan i-push kasi para sa kanila yun . Sayang yung pagkakataon na makatulong kami sa kanila.
Bernard Danis, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Home empty-handed from UNTV Cup, the League of Public Servants. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
Before the main game last night, the crowd was entertained by a selection of artists who helped build up the excitement inside the Araneta Coliseum. The fans roared further upon seeing their favorite former basketball professionals paraded to the hard court for the exhibition game against the executive selections.
Jolas.
Uulitin ko. Tama ang pwesto ni Alan Kaidig. Tama ang pasa ni Jojo Lastimosa.
1 million pesos was given to the newly established Samahan ng mga dating profesional na basketballista sa Pilipinas Foundation for the benefit of former basketball pros in need of medical assistance. Meanwhile, off-season game champion AFP Cavaliers received 1 million pesos for the AFP's Educational Benefit System Office, which grants scholarship to orphans and children of soldiers killed and wounded in action.
Emotional yung usapan namin na alay natin to dun sa mga kasama nating sundalo na namatay sa Marawi, pamilya nila. Kaya medyo kursigido talaga yung team.
Meanwhile, runner-up PNP responders also offered their 500,000 prize to the families of policemen killed and wounded in action in Marawi City. And for securing the third spot, the DOJ Justice Boosters received 250,000 pesos. Fourth placer Judiciary Magis received 200,000 pesos, while the fifth and sixth placers, Senate Sentinels and BOC Transformers, received 100,000 pesos respectively.
Nagpapasalamat po tayo sa palagi ang pagsuporta ng ating mga kasama sa Church of God International. Ang palaging pagsuporta ni Brother Eli Soriano sa atin pong mga ginagawa. At sa lahat ng mga tumatangkilik at tumangkilik at patuloy na tumatangkilik sa ating ginagawang Liga ng mga Public Servants, ang UNTV Cup.
Kuya Daniel is pleased to know that the league is now being imitated, a proof that it has inspired others to do good as well.
Nabanggit nga nila, meron daw panibagong magpapasimula na isang liga din ng mga public servants. Sabi ko, salamat naman at nagbubunga yung ating ginawa at meron ng gumagaya. Sabi ko nga sa kanila, sana doon sa mga gumagaya doon sa ating konsepto, gayahin na din nila pati yung mga papremyo na binibigay natin. Para po mas maraming magbenepisyo sapagkat itong ating ginagawang liga na ito ay nakatungkol pa rin sa ating paglilingkod sa ating mga kababayan.
Alam ko po na meron kayong pusong makagawa ng mabuti sa kapwa. Diwa po yan ng Panginoon. Doon sa Galacia, Kapitulo 6, versikulo 10, samantalang tayo'y may pagkakataon, magsigawa tayo ng mabuti sa lahat. Pati sa kaaway nga ibigin mo ang iyong kaaway.
Meanwhile, fans are invited to support the upcoming regular season of UNTV Cup as it enters its 6th season. 4 million pesos cash prize awaits the next champion. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
UNTV gathered a group of former professional basketball players to play in an exhibition game at the Araneta Coliseum last night. The group says they will use the 1 million pesos given to them to help former basketball players who are now suffering from illness. Aiko Miguel explains why.
Tournament time. Sets. Bang! Tira si Rara.
Classic basketball action was relieved last night during the exhibition game in the UNTV Cup off-season finals. Veteran basketball players once again showcased their skills on the hard court despite their age. Kenneth Durandez and Alan Kaidik both gave 3-point shots to wow the audience at the Big Dome. But the executives, led by Supreme Court Administrator Midas Marquez and Senator Sonny Angara, gave a strong defense. In the end, the professionals proved their love of the game and emerged victorious at 117-85. The UNTV Cup gave 1 million pesos to the newly formed Samahan ng mga dating profesional na basketballista sa Pilipinas Foundation as its seed money. The group provides the needs of their colleagues who are in need of help.
Sa katang-isip ni Kuya Daniel, nabuo itong foundation. Aside from that, siya pa nagbigay ng seed money. And then nakakahiya naman sa amin na hindi namin susuportahan yun. Napababayaan na lang namin na malusaw yung 1 million. Kasi siyempre mag-iisip din kami na sa sarili ng pamamaraan kung paano namin madadagdagan yung pera ng foundation para mas maraming matutulungan natin.
The group also plans to use the money to help former basketball players during the period of 1975 to 1990 who are now sick and in need of financial aid.
These are the older basketball players. Pag older ka, marami kang kailangan gamot. May maintenance ka.
They also plan to increase the fund to help their brothers in the field. The UNTV Cup has initially donated 1 million pesos for the medication of former PBA player Samboy Lim.
Papasalamat po kami kay Kuya Daniel Razon and Brother Eli Soriano for this chance of a lifetime to be here sa UNTV Cup. Ito pong samahan ng mga dating professional na basketballista ng Pilipinas, talagang full support po sa UNTV Cup. Saludo po kami and from the bottom of our hearts, maraming salamat po sa pagtulong po sa aming samahan.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The 1 million peso cash prize won by the AFP Cavaliers on UNTV Cup Executive Faceoff will be able to help dependents of soldiers killed in Marawi conflict. Leslie Longbowen will tell us why.
Title and 1 million peso cash. This is the prize of months of hard work of the AFP Cavaliers throughout the UNTV Cup Executive Face-Off Games. The team worked with their heart from the start up to the final game last night at the Smart Araneta Coliseum. They say their inspiration is their comrades out in the field in Marawi to fight for the country.
Sa ngalan ng aming mga kasundaluhan na kasalukuyan ay lumalaban para sa kapayapaan ng ating bayan, para sa kanilang laban na to.
The 1 million peso cash won by the AFP Cavaliers will go to the AFP Educational Benefit Systems Office. They are the ones in charge of managing scholarship or educational grants for dependents of soldiers killed in line of duty.
We are really thankful for this amount, for this token amount that we'll be receiving for it. And i-channel po namin to una sa lahat yung mga dependents po ng ating mga kasundaluhan na nagbuhis ng kanilang buhay sa Marawi, ongoing encounter sa Marawi.
Meanwhile, the Armed Forces of the Philippines thanked all the organizers of UNTV Cup for its unique charity concept.
Unang-una, sana po ipagpatuloy ito dahil nagiging napakalaki ng tulong nito sa mga funds na tulad ng aming kminemaintain para sa ating mga orphans. Iba't ibang organisasyon ang natutulungan ng UNTV Cup. Sana kaya sa malaking bagay na yon, sa malaking tulong na naibibigay nito sa iba't ibang dako ng ating sektor, sana ipagpatuloy pa rin.
Maraming salamat sa organizer, UNTV, kay Brother Eli Soriano. Maraming salamat.
AFP Cavaliers clashed with the PNP responders for the title. Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Coming up, World Boxing Organization upholds Jeff Horn's win against Manny Pacquiao.
And UNESCO adds 21 sites to its World Heritage list.
More from Y News after this break. Almost 400 persons deprived of liberty or those detained at the BJMP in Santa Rosa, Laguna were given medical attention by UNTV and MCGI. Joanano tells us why.
There are more than 1,000 prisoners huddling inside the 9 jail cells of the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology or BJMP in Santa Rosa, Laguna. Each detention cell can accommodate 40 to 50 prisoners only. But because of lack of detention facilities and plenty of arrests, the number of prisoners continues to rise. Many prisoners can easily contract illnesses like skin disease because of extreme heat inside the prison cells.
Yung gumburumbo po, yung pong sakit po rito sa kulungan to eh. Bali, hawa-hawa po, nakakahawa po sa amin. Masakit po, grabe. Hindi po kami makahinga minsan eh. Kagaya po sa akin, nag-chill po ako rito eh. Kulang po kasi sa hangin yung iba eh.
Bulutong tubig ho. Ay basta tumubo ho. Tapos nung biglang lamula. Papasalamat po kami dahil umabot dito sa Santa Rosa ang medical mission ni Brother Eli.
They are just among the almost 400 prisoners who benefited from the medical and legal mission brought by UNTV, Members Church of God International, and the TV station's partners in public service.
Papasalamat po kami at nagkaroon po kayo ng ganitong kakataon na para kahit paano yung mga saloobin namin nakawala sa mga katanungang masasagot ng ating mga nandito, doktor, abogado, o dental man, matutugunan lahat ng mga pangangailangan namin kahit papano.
Kami po ay lubos na nagpapasalamat sa ganitong mga gawain. Sana po ay magtuloy-tuloy at maging regular ang ating mga gawain ganito sa lahat po ng jail nationwide, hindi lang po dito sa Santa Rosa.
Joan Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The World Boxing Organization, or WBO, confirms the win of Jeff Horn in the recent boxing match against a Filipino boxer Manny Pacquiao. In its review of the July 12 Battle of Brisbane, the WBO calls a previous decision of the judges that Horn won against a Filipino boxer. Horn won 7 rounds while Pacquiao won only 5 rounds. Pacquiao's camp has no comment yet on WBO's decision. Horn has recently insisted that he was a winner in the controversial boxing match.
Those are the reasons behind the news, July 11, 2017. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we delivered to you as they unfold. I'm Darlene Basingan.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching
Why News.